Don't judge me. Battery exhausted, she says. I'm fucking exhausted. Right, this episode 2. This guitar's getting serious, and I've done a bit of thinking. I've done a bit of watching as well, some other channels. If anyone didn't know, one of my favourite channels is Adventures from the Shed of Dreams. If you want to learn how to make a guitar and listen to a geezer who just knows what he's talking about, that's where you want to go, alright? That's my recommend for the week. I'll put a link below. We're on the neck. Where are we? Well, we've got this beautifully machined, laminated neck. We've got wenge, oak, walnut, with some little oak staves on the side, which there's not going to be a lot of. I've got my vintage, little bit skinnier neck template. So today in the video, we're going to start chomping into this and making it neck shape. You can only go so far. I laminated this up a long time ago. Try and get that in shot. We're going to cut it into neck shaped material today on the bandsaw. Once you do that and you seriously thin it out, I've got to leave it a day or, well, in fact, I'm busy for the rest of the week. So I'll be coming back next week and we'll just give this a bit of time. So when I chop this out and we go rough with it, definitely going to leave a few mil, literally 3 mil, more thickness than I need. It's extra work for carving. But the router does that, so that, you know, she might moan, but fuck her, that's fine. There's me neck blank. We've got to do a bit of maths. People want me to include more detail. It's a balance with YouTube channels. Do I whiz through some of the more boring work with music and montages and just talk to you and waffle shit, because a lot of people come for that? Or do I actually show you what I'm doing and a bit of head scratching? So this series, I'm gonna scratch my head for you. You're gonna love it. If you don't, you're fucked really, but there you go. Never mind. So there will be more than 4 videos in this series, I think, because I'm gonna have to cram a bit of detail in, and I still don't wanna go over 25 minutes for videos, because most people yawn and click off. Right, so I've figured this out. My headstock wants to go almost to the end. So the first thing I'm gonna do is mark out the center line in me wenge. Technical, I know, very technical. There you go, I've got a centre line. Now I've figured it out. I've got my nut marked on this template. Clear templates are lovely. They're a lot more money, but God, they're easy to work with. So I can line that up on my centre line quite simply, almost to the end, give myself a few mil. And I'm just gonna put 2 marks where my nut is. Where my nut is, I'll also mark the 12th fret, because why not? It's on there, let's not be rude. Proper engineer square. That is where my nuts go in. I mean, to be honest, we could mark this out. Handsome. So we're pretty much marked out. That's lovely, isn't it? Quite simple, nothing to shit yourself yet. The amount of fender necks I've made, I can't even tell you. The amount of these necks is nowhere near as much, so I'm not on autopilot. I'm doing a bit of thinking. I actually watch a lot of the same channels you lot do about luthier and guitar building. I've got the tools to make consistent guitars. There's no excuse not to make guitars that are lovely, but autopilot, when you know, the fender neck, I've done everything a million times. I know exactly what stage I can come in and I can knock a neck out. I don't even have to think about it really. Just have to try not to cut me chubby fingers off. So now that is marked out, I need to get a truss rod in, and we need to think about that. Should we think about the truss rod? I think we should. I have got an old SG body, and that fretboard is the size of that. So it basically finishes where the humbuckers go. So I know that that is how that works. And then my humbucker is going to fit against it. Mine's going to be slightly different. My fretboard's going to be a tiny bit longer with a notch out for the spoke wheel truss rod, because they are just sexy, aren't they? So we'll make that look a little bit prettier. My top humbucker is going to move a little bit because I'm not using pickup rings, because I don't like pickup rings. They're fucking boring. It's a bit weird on a Gibson guitar because my back route has to be a little bit less, because you have to have more of the pickup sticking out, don't you? We'll make that up as we go along, and that's the exciting bit, isn't it? I mean, it don't really matter. We're not exactly winging much. Stop waffling, Paul, you're a prick. So we've got that marked out. One of the first things you need to do, and I urge everyone to have this, is a lovely flat something on your in your workshop. Something that you know is dead flat. This is a bit of granite from the local funeral parlour. Yes, funeral parlour. They didn't need that bit. No one died that size. I've machined my neck blank, so it is dead flat. You can also use a machine bed or something like that, which I used to use. Proper job. That's easy to do, isn't it? So I now need to get my truss rod in. Gibsons, as you know, they have a big chunk missing at the top, and it gives them a weak headstock joint. I prefer spoke wheel truss rods, especially for that reason, because we're not taking out a massive lump out of the top. We've got our truss rod here. He is going to sit just below, he's going to finish just in front of the nut. If I mark where my fretboard finishes, that is where the neck finishes on a Gibson. So we're copying that bit. If I line the back of my truss rod up, it finishes about 2 mil shy of the nut, which is perfect. We want timber under the nut, if possible. So now we have to move onto the truss rod jig. Fucking blowing you away. If you're still awake, well done. Go and make yourself a coffee, because we are digging in for the long haul. I'll see you over on the routing station, where it gets no more exciting, really. Apart from for me, I'm loving it. Right, so here is me jig for routing. You can use the guide on the bottom of your router, but that doesn't always stop you from slipping out and doing wiggly wagglies. Don't want to be doing that. This jig takes all of that stress out of it, which is always very nice, isn't it? It's always lovely. That's me marked that my truss rod's going to finish. Here is my truss rod. It's going to finish just there, so I'm going to router to that mark and square that off with a chisel. Then I know I'm all lovely jubbly. My router bit in there is a 6 mil. My truss rod is 6 mil wide. That eliminates a bit of brains for you, doesn't it? You don't have to use that. That sits on there. So now that that router's in there and fixed, we can go up and down, we can route a straight line, and even Michael J. Fox could route a straight line there. Bless him.
I guess you guys aren't ready for that yet.
Last job. This is where it gets highly technical. We need to route a channel the same size as the truss rod. What do? Do you measure it? Do you get your vernier out here? No. You just bung it in there, put your depth stop in, twizzle him up, bit of room. There you go. That's as deep as we need to go. Get your hoover, route a channel. Fucking lovely. Right, let's get it done. Little bit off center. Someone will pick that up in the comments. So once I square that up, we should be bang on. Over to the bench. Over to the bench. Right, we're back over on the bench. And the fact that I've got a laminated neck means there's no getting away from the fact that I was about 1 millimetre off the centre there. What an absolute nonce.
Touchy, touchy. Lovely, lovely. Thank you.
That won't matter at all. All we've got to do now is square off this cut so that my truss rod fits in nicely. Fortunately, I'm all prepared without my hammer. Good afternoon, Peter. You can see we are dead flat and everything's going to be lovely. We can forgive ourselves a mil. We've introduced a bit of character into the neck. Next thing I've got to do is cut this down because I want to be able to get my truss rod in and make sure it fits before I glue my fretboard on. So we've got to do that bit, haven't we? I haven't got a Gibson neck. Here is a flying V neck template. Exhibit A, Exhibit A. It's a little bit different. It's an Epiphone body and a Gibson template. But to be fair, that measurement's not that critical at the minute. But we'll get it close. Lay him on. Remember that it's got a fretboard on here. We don't need that. I'm thinking out loud here. I'm thinking out loud. My brain is going, woo, they're all watching. My fretboard's going to overhang and cover up the thickness of that truss rod, the spoke wheel. The spoke wheel. So I know that that's where my cut's got to be. For the minute, I'm going to reduce that by 15 mil. We could always do a little bit more than that. I'm unsure about that measurement. Let's just wait and see. It's got to be enough to get my truss rod in. That's about 17 mil. There. Don't do maths, just copy the bit you're trying to cut round. Noggin, Paul. next bit is a simple bit. There's a few different ways of doing it. Naturally, my truss rod's got to fit in there, and it's got a bulbous bit on the end. These truss rods are nice because they're not too chunky. So I'm just going to mark that, and we just need to enlarge that hole enough to get the truss rod to go down. There we go, so we're all enlarged, and now hopefully, handsome, and he's down. That is dead flush, dead tight, no need to put anything additional in there to stop any wobble. I'm happy with that. What's our next step then? What do you reckon? Need to figure out headstock angle. One thing I know is that the Gibson headstock angle gives a lot of issues. There's a lot of angle there. We get a lot of snaps, don't we? PRS use slightly less of an angle as PRS template, just in case you're wondering. Texas Toast do 7 degrees, which is a lot less than that. You don't need a lot of brake angle. And from what I can figure out, the science in me, less brake angle means stronger neck. And less likely, when you sit the guitar down on its body, the top of the headstock's not going to be the first thing that touches the floor, which is the common problem with Gibsons. When they fall, the headstock hits the deck before anything else. It's like watching those fail videos on YouTube where people fall and just twat the face. Hopefully I found a good meme there for you to have a chuckle at. Everyone likes to see a knobhead hurt himself, don't they? It's brilliant. We watch them with mother and father-in-law after a roast on a Sunday. There you go, fail videos. Right, so figuring out headstock angles and the shape of the neck, we will go with, for now, we'll go with our Gibson one, and we'll just get some rough shapes. It's basically this dimension that I need, and where the curve starts. Everything that happens at the other end is irrelevant at the minute. So I'll just put a little mark there, and we'll draw that curve on. Right, so now we've got that, this is the bit that I've got to wing it a little bit, because I need to put my headstock angle on, and I haven't got that much. So if bearing in mind that is your typical Gibson headstock angle, I have to go a little bit less. So the headstock brake angle actually starts where the nut finishes. So I know that my headstock only needs to be 14.4 because we're going to have a plate on top of it holding the nut in, which is a couple mil. It breaks after the nut, but I need the full thickness. So we've still got lots of brake angle. I don't know whether to put a volute in it. It's a one-piece neck. We haven't got a load of chonk missing out of here. I don't think it really needs it. So I'm not gonna. No volute. No volute. Fuck the volute. Or should we put a little volute in? Little one can hurt. We can always get rid of it. I'll put a little volute in manually, just under the nut, and I can always get rid of that if I don't want it. That's no biggie. Bish bash bosh, angled, lovely, wallop. We know what we're doing now, don't we? I'm there. There's loads of stuff I don't know, completely winging it. I'm gonna put it in the bandsaw. I'm gonna get this bit within a mil or so. Let's not go too bonkers. And then I'm gonna clamp this and do something that I do very rarely. I'm gonna use a hand planer. I'm a power tool knob, but I'm gonna hand plane that because let's make some shaving, shall we? I think it's pretty fucking blunt. So I might be filming it after about 3 hours of sharpening. See you over at the last power tool we're going to be using for a little while. Back to the job at hand. I've got to do a few bits to this neck before I move on. The worrying bits. We've put a lot of work into this and I absolutely don't want to mess it up. Out comes Truss Rodus, and she was in there tight. I've glued a random bit of crap which is the same thickness as the wing of the neck, so that when I run it through my bandsaw, it's all going to sit nice and square and flush and true. I've got to cut these lines off. We're going to cut quite a lot of wood away, so in the interest of saving our asses, this might do some shonky wonky stuff later on. We want to avoid that, so I'm going to stay a good couple of mil away from the line. Everything's going to be carved in thickness anyway. It's not the end of the world. Once I've done that, I'm going to bung the template on the bottom of here. It's going to shoot out an overhang, making that bit up as I go along. And I'm going to cut this neck to shape, approximately, and router it off. So we should have a neck-shaped blank, which is all chopped out and cut out. I'm going to try and cut this bit out in one, so that I can use it as a stand when I put the thing on and I'm tapping frets in and gluing it and doing all sorts of stuff. trying to make life a bit easier. Don't make necks this way. Should have watched more videos. Probably going to watch some more in a minute. But let's chop this bit out and see how we get on. See you back in a minute. Hopefully I'm not flooding with tears because I've completely fucked it. Ciao for now. I was literally shaking doing that. These are actually prescription, and if I move around too fast, well, insert meme. I was shaking doing that. I haven't made many necks this way. There's a lot of hours gone into this and a lot of unknowns in the process. But I used extra strong double-sided tape because I didn't want any issues. We've got a neck and it's neck shaped and that's looking pretty cool. Little skinny volute. Just watched the Texas Toast video on volute actually, on volutes. Whatever they say, I do. I'm like a mindless idiot. That is pretty cool. I've got to let that sit now. It's got to stew overnight like a coq au vin. And then I'm going to come back to it and do some more work. I'm chuffed, I'm chuffed. That is really cool. That's a step forward for me. So as you know, this channel is really me showcasing stuff, but also the fact that I'm learning as I go here. There's a lot of stuff I've never done. There's a lot of stuff I want to do, and I'm not at the heady heights of those guys that are building guitars like the Ben Crows and all the rest of it. They're fucking masters. I'm not a master, but I want to be one day. So let's not give up, shall we? So I'm neck shaped. It's all looking cool. It's the most proud I've been of a fucking neck blank. So I'm happy with that. We've got some preliminary lines and bits and bobs join on the body. So next week, come back and we will make these join up. We'll get everything drilled out and cut out. Get my bridge position. We'll get this done. I've got to do an angled neck pocket and we'll have to figure that out as we go. You might learn something, you might not. Fingers crossed. It's already looking pretty spanking though, isn't it? I'm happy with this one. I'll see you next week, everyone. Thanks for coming. If you've come here from watching the silly reviews, this is what we really do on the channel. We build spanking guitars. The videos are a little bit less funny. I'm not being so much of a prick, but it's serious work and we're gonna make some wall bangers. See you later on. Don't be a prick.